Welcome to the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast, where we explore the art of the possible for technology, innovation, and the future of business. I'm your host, Deb Reuben. Today, we're diving into digital transformation and intelligent automation. Our guest today is reshaping how organizations think about technology, trust, and transformation. Joining me is Ross Smith, the CEO of Initium SoftWorks, also known as ISW. His team brings deep experience in enterprise content management and intelligent automation, helping organizations to simplify complex processes and get real value from digital transformation. ISW is now bringing their expertise into the equipment finance space. So I'm excited to talk with Ross about lessons from other industries and what it really takes to move from strategy to results when it comes to automation and AI, and how innovation in one space can spark breakthrough thinking in another. So Ross, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this with you because as I speak with people across the equipment finance industry, so many people are interested in what can we do with AI? Where should we be using intelligent automation? What's possible now, but also what's next? Before we dive into all of that juicy, geeky stuff, I just wanted to step back a little bit and get a brief snapshot of your background. So could you just share a couple of brief highlights from your story? What led you to the work that you're doing today?
Wow. That goes back too far. But
well, we just need a couple of the highlights. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I went to college for computer science and business, and which I'm in that industry, but this is not where I planned on being. But when I was, I got a job at GTE. Not sure, it's way back. They don't exist anymore, but they merged with Verizon. My manager came to me one day and was just like, you know what, we're having to go back and forth to filing cabinets all the time to look at contracts and look at copy. And I was just like, I think that we could do something. This is like in the early 90s, and I was just like, I think we can fix this. So that once I solved that problem, which was getting everything digitized back in the early 90s, that set my journey to this career path. And I took that from not just getting the copy on the computer and through, content management. I took it through, how are we going to manage these contracts and get them, approved? Can we do that from the beginning versus having all this paper? And I started that in the mid 90s, and it just from there just evolved. So I've been doing process automation forever. From Verizon, I went to a company called, GTE became Verizon. And then I went to a company called Pfizer. It's a financial services organization. And that started my career in financial services, doing process automation with content, documents, and automating, helping banks and credit unions automate what they do every day. So been doing it a long time, been doing it with the same people. I have a team of people that we've been doing it with for quite a while. And eventually we started our own company. So that's what we do now, Initium SoftWorks.
Awesome. Wow. So a lot of deep expertise, not only in automation, but also in the financial services space, which is really great. So I was really curious to talk with you about that because I know a lot of folks in our industry are facing challenges with, streamlining processes. It's a very document intensive world in equipment finance. And, although there are a lot of core leasing systems out there for origination and back office platforms, not a lot of streamlined solutions when it comes to the art and science of managing document automation specifically. But, you've led ISW through complex digital transformations across a variety of industries. So I think that there's probably a lot that we could learn from you in the equipment finance and leasing world. So what are some of the biggest innovation lessons that you have gleaned from your journey in other industries that could apply across the board, no matter what the industry?
That's a good question. From an adoption perspective, getting quick wins, identifying the problem, and then getting quick wins allows people to, gain trust in the processes that you're bringing in, because people don't like change, and that's always been a challenge, will continue to be a challenge. So if you don't have to change the world overnight, you know, but if you can change a process and make someone's life better, their daily life better and what they do every day, and you can do it quickly with high impact, that's what we've learned to do in order to step into either a new industry or even a new client partner. It's just important to show your value quickly.
I love that. One of the things we focus on a lot at TomorrowZone is the human side of innovation. And I love that notion of really strategizing upfront how you're going to build trust along the way, rather than treating change management as kind of a bolt-on activity. It really is something you need to do intentionally as you go. So your team, I've had a chance to get to know you a little bit this year, and it's been pretty exciting to see all of the powerful capabilities that you can bring to the table. Your team is known for delivering intelligent automation solutions that can simplify really complex processes. So I was wondering, in the work that you've done in other industries, could you share an example or two of how you and ISW team have helped a client to shorten the path to business value by using intelligent content management or intelligent automation?
I'll start with two that really don't tie to the industry, but it's, I could go through a lot. There's probably, thousands, but we work in government space also. So we work with police departments, and we have streamlined, disciplinary activities, within police departments. They brought us in. They needed a process just to manage, from an HR perspective, just actions that happen within a department. And we, before it was all paper, and we created it. We made it all digital. It was going to be all online, and it goes through the process, the necessary process. Another one is, again, in the police department, they're out in the field and they need to see if someone has, warrants or whatever. So we've automated the process of managing those warrants and getting them to see them in the field as necessary real time.
Oh,
So
wow.
those are two that are, kind of government related. And there's a lot of government FOIA compliance things that, Freedom of Information Acts that we kind of manage. So, you're allowed to go out and see anything from a government perspective that is available to the public. And we make that type of stuff available online. When it comes to financial, probably the closest one that we're thinking when it, relates to equipment finance is we created a process in the mortgage space, for loans, from loan origination all the way to, servicing and, just managing and offloading, because a lot of, credit unions and banks, they will sell off the loans. So we create a process to create the application online, or many times it still has to be paper. So either way, we bring that information together. We review all the data on that loan packet, and we are integrated to other solutions, applications that are required to support that loan process. And we read the data off the loans. We review it against multiple applications for compliance and continuity, and we throw out the exceptions when necessary. And we also review the credit. We go out to the credit agency automatically and get the credit information and analyze the risk of the loan before it's funded. And we also review trailing documents. There's a lot of trailing documents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we take those and we have to analyze those against what was already received. Is the social the same? Is the interest rate the same? Is, all the various aspects that are required? And is all that information the same across applications? So we have built that integration to do that type of processing, for mortgages. And we feel as if, and that leads us into the equipment finance space. We feel as if there's a parallel there that, can apply. And that's what we're looking to do.
I definitely believe there is a parallel there. I mean, I've seen the challenge and the manual work to track trailing documents, and let alone dealing with what's happened with those documents, making sure that you get them in. So I imagine in the mortgage space for a solution like that, you've probably been able to save a lot of time for your clients.
Absolutely. I mean, it's speed to funding, it's compliance, it's cost reduction because we reduce the time it takes. Really, in some cases, you can reallocate individuals to other work that we get rid of the mundane and get them to work on the things that are more important, which is ideal.
Yeah. So all sorts of benefits, especially, we think about the whole end-to-end equipment finance process. It is very document intensive for the whole life cycle of a lease or equipment loan. So I think there are a lot of parallels. I'd love to dive into a little bit more on the AI and intelligent automation space, because that's a really hot topic. And I know there at TomorrowZone, there's not a day that goes by that we are not talking about this with someone. So it's a really hot topic. Folks are trying to figure out, where does it apply? Where do we begin? So there's often a gap, though, between good intentions with automation and real world results. And so I'm curious, from your experience, Ross, and the experience of your teams, what is it that can help organizations to move beyond experimentation, which is kind of where a lot of folks are right now when it comes to AI? They might be just kind of scratching the surface to see what's possible, but to actually embed automation and AI into the way that they're working.
Yeah, so there's a lot to that to unpack, but you have to be responsible with AI. Number one, I mean, and you have to. It's a culture change. It's not just I'm going to start an AI project. It's a culture change for everyone in an organization, the people that you're working with, and it's important to understand that up front, because if you don't, it will fail, and it could put you at risk, actually. You need to address governance first, so how you're going to apply the AI in your organization, and then you need to do it responsibly, because you can put it out there. Everyone's using ChatGPT right now. Everyone's going out there, or Copilot, and you're getting whatever you get. There's a lot of information, and there's some misinformation. And what I do whenever I read an article now these days, I put the link of the article into an AI, or there's websites out there where you can validate how much of that was AI generated. So if it's over 80%, then I kind of, number one, it discredits the author. So you got to be careful about that. And and then beyond that, governance is step one, and then educating your team that that's where we're going, and that's what we're going to do. From a AI perspective.
Yeah, I think another thing that really goes along with that is understanding why you're going in that direction.
That's true. Yeah. It's very important.
Yeah. And, it's interesting too, Ross. A lot of the folks I'm talking to are really deep in the weeds on this space and the technology, and they are all coming back to this is about culture. This is about your organizational model. This is about understanding why you're doing it so that you can do it responsibly. It really is a little bit different world. It's not just about shopping for a tool set. You really do need to understand the business problems that you want to solve, but also why.
That's true. And identifying, the initial use case is, again, quick wins is always important. And then identifying a use case for AI in your industry or your, whatever business you're in is critical. And don't plan to change the world overnight.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I was just I was just in a workshop last week, and the big aha coming out of it was now, and now is not a good timeline for all the things that you want to do.
That's true.
Yeah, you do have to step back and think about how quickly you're going to bring things in. And I love what you were talking about earlier is really strategizing to build trust and show the value along the way with those quick wins so that you can get momentum. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit because as I was getting to know you earlier this year, we talked about how you and your company are expanding your focus to include equipment finance, which I think is really great. So, what inspired your team to explore this space, and how do you see your strengths in other sectors bringing fresh value to the equipment finance and leasing industry?
Well, as we talked about previously, the lending space is close to the leasing space, and we have years of experience in the lending space. And we did take a look at, the equipment finance. We brought in a consultants and also staff that is familiar with the space. And after doing some analysis, we were like, it parallels almost. I mean, actually, uh, you know, not close enough yet to say that, it's more difficult or easier, but we know what the challenges we had in the mortgage space. We're thinking and we believe that we have, cut our chops enough that we're going to be able to handle the leasing space pretty well. And we're really excited to do it. And we were at a conference a couple weeks ago, and LTI, and we spoke to them, and we're getting very close to them. They're liking what they're hearing and seeing, and we're going to continue to build that partnership, which
Awesome.
we're really excited about.
What are some of the use cases that you're hearing as you're getting into and interacting with equipment finance folks that would be a great match for your capabilities?
Credit reviews, risk assessment, and speed to funding. That aligns with more the lending space very well. And so those are the areas that we're going to hit first. We think that those can be quick wins, and then we want to get deeper under the hood to see where else we can play.
So one of the things that we love to explore at TomorrowZone is inspiring breakthroughs that shape the future. You have access to a lot of different types of technology and tools and capabilities. What future breakthroughs do you see on the horizon for content and process automation? And how might they be transformative to a space like ours?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think autonomous process orchestration. So take the human out of it and only have them involved when necessary. So, and you can do that with, AI as part of it, but natural language processing, capturing information. We're big in the integration. There's a lot of legacy applications in the equipment finance space from what I see. And we feel as if, from a consultative perspective, what we do is we always go, where do we look at what, a client has, we leverage what still makes sense, and then we make recommendations on what should be changed. And also we go in and we build those integrations between disparate systems that they might have the same data, they might be duplicated across different systems, and we try to see if we can bring it, minimize the number of systems or make sure that they are in sync. And we built a product called Datum that is doing that pretty well in other industries in the finance space, and we feel it'll apply in the equipment finance space. So
that's tying disparate systems together is definitely a pain point that I'm hearing from a variety of folks, no matter what leasing core system they're using, having to work between systems that are disconnected is tough, and keeping those different data sources in sync is time consuming. So you mentioned the tool that you built. Can you say a little more about that? Datum Sync?
Yeah, it's Datum Sync. And we built that, we started building it, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. and we built it to integrate, initially with Salesforce. So we've gone from that to make it a more robust. It's an iPad solution. It's integration solution that allows you to bidirectionally connect different products, different applications that have similar information that you need to keep in sync. So if you change it over here, you want to make sure it's changed over there. It also, you can leverage it to bring, content out of solutions. If you want to migrate to something else, you can leverage it to do that. But the whole process, the whole solution is about, syncing information bidirectionally. And we built gateways that are already part of it. They're pre-built gateways. There's other products out there like this, like MuleSoft, Make.com, Automate, Informatica. Not that the problem with those is they're very expensive, number one. And they give you a 70% gateway or connection, and you have to build the rest, which is highly expensive. So what we do is we build a fully functional gateway between two systems that syncs data, as the solution.
Awesome. I'm kind of getting excited because a lot of the challenges that I hear around data are just that. How do we keep two different core systems in sync? But also just even, a lot of folks are trying to modernize and move to new platforms that are going to help them have new capabilities to shape their future. And so having something that can help to accelerate
absolutely
data migration. Do you have any stories of how data sync has helped companies in other industries?
Oh, many. A lot of clients use it for, their AP applications, syncing between QuickBooks and, another core application, Salesforce, Workday, Sage, Oracle. Like there's a ton of integrations that are out there that we've helped, companies work with. Because a lot of times you want the data in one system one way, and it needs to be converted when it goes into the other system, so it looks different over there. And Data Sync allows you to do that through workflows, and it's all configurable for the layman, which is really nice.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
For the layman, not for the computer scientist.
No. That's the whole value of it, really, because that's the problem with the other ones I mentioned earlier. Is you almost have to be a developer to finish what it is that you're getting, and that's not the case with our product.
Very cool. So, where can listeners learn more about you and ISW?
You can check out my LinkedIn at Ross Smith with ISW, and you can look at iswhub.com. That's our website. Check that out. And we have some podcasts out there that we're posting, and we have a lot of information on there about data sync integrations, process automation, and everything that we do. And we are a consultative first organization. So we do see ourselves as coming as consultants. And then we either work with what you already have, teach you how to do things better, from a process standpoint, or recommend new technologies. Got a lot in our toolbox.
Excellent. And then do you also help with implementing the technologies?
Yeah. And sometimes, we'll just help you do, work with your technology even better. We'll provide those services also. It's not all about selling, technology. It's about helping you, work better every day.
Awesome. Are you going to be at any of the upcoming events in the equipment finance space so people can get to know you?
Yeah, we plan on having exhibit at ELFA, so the Ops and Tech. So we plan on being there. That will be the next one that we're doing.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there in person. What's one thing that leaders can do today to shape a more awesome future?
Good question. So I'm a team person. I would say I am more of a team-oriented builder than a technologist. I have those people surrounding me, which is awesome. And what I tell my teams is, we only know what we know as an individual, and based on our experiences and skills that we've learned. But collectively, if we work really tight together, there's not much we can't accomplish. And I just try to instill that in my teams, and it has worked, through the years. As I think about it, if you add AI to a strong team, there's probably it's limitless what we can accomplish. So that's what I would tell people to take away, and kind of focus on. It's worked for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ross. And to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share it with a colleague who could benefit from these insights. I encourage you to keep exploring the art of the possible. Until next time, stay curious and choose to make awesome happen.